Hello and welcome to this tutorial video on opening the Glockenspiel. So when you get your Glockenspiel, it looks very much like a briefcase. You've got a handle to hold and an orange side and a white side. So you might find that it's already on your table prepared for you with the orange side facing down. When your teacher asks you to, and obviously not before, you'll need to open the instrument. There are two buttons at the front. You need to press those down and then open up the lid. If your Glockenspiel is new or newer, you might find that those two buttons are quite hard to press. If you do them both down at the same time and then quite strongly open without obviously breaking it, then you can open your lid and you have the instrument ready to play. You will also find one of these, and we'll talk about these in a moment, often lives inside, and if you're watching this in 2020, the beaters are being cleaned after each lesson, so you might find your teacher asking you to put those in a bowl so they can be taken away and washed and cleaned up, ready for the next class to safely use. The lid makes an ideal space for you to put your sheet music in. That might be a grid notation version in the first instance, or as you progress, that might be actual notation, proper notation. So it can go, it sits quite neatly there, your lid makes quite a good music stand. Then we have this. This is a beater, and if you don't have one in your instrument, you need to ask, please sir or please miss, may I have a beater? It is not a stick, it is not a poking device, it is not a magic wand, it is not a lightsaber, it is not a sonic screwdriver, it's not any of those things. It's a beater for playing the instrument with. And the best way actually to do it is if you think of it, okay, it's called a beater, but think of it as a bouncer, and if you play very close to the note, you get a nice, bright sound out of the instrument. Whereas if you're up like this, by the time you're going to miss the note, it sounds good. Probably miss the note, you play wrong notes, won't sound as nice. And it's actually quite hard to do as well. You won't be able to play in time in a whole class performance if you're up and down in the air like this. So nice and close to the instrument and let the beater bounce off the instrument. So now that we've opened our Glockenspiel, you can see that the layout is very much like a keyboard and piano. We have a series of white notes, getting gradually smaller as we go up. Think about what that might do to the pitch. Then we have a series of black notes, which are like the black notes on a keyboard or piano. Again, starting quite big and getting smaller as we go. So again, think about what that might do to the pitch. So if we look at the bottom note, it's labelled G. It's quite a big note, so that pitch is quite low. Then as if we move up, as I'm looking at it to the right of the instrument, we go up, we've got a higher G. This note is very much smaller. The F next door, which you can see, also quite small. So the smaller the note to the right of the instrument, the higher the pitch is. Then the bigger the note to the left of the instrument, the lower the pitch is. So I can play now a complete scale. I'm going to use every single note. Notice how I'm keeping close to the instrument and I'm just bouncing the beater off the note. If I do it like this, it doesn't sound as nice and I might accidentally make a mistake. So the closer the beater is to the instrument, the easier it is to play, the nicer the note. Nicer the sound of the note. Please resist the temptation to do this. You're year 7, not year 3. Yeah? So, the Huffty, which is the first piece we learn on a Glockenspiel, starts on the note D. It's this note to the right of the instrument. So it's a high-pitched D. It's not this one, otherwise you run out of notes to play, and I've gone off the camera so you can't see. So you start on this D that's towards the right of the instrument. It's quite a small note, and your notes are all next door to each other, which is why we chose this piece, because it's an easy piece to start off to learn to play. And obviously the Glockenspiel itself has the notes written in for you. So as a starting point, that's very useful. Something you'll have to get used to the notes not being there when we move to keyboards and pianos, but for the starting point, the notes are all there. So you can match the notes of the instrument to the notes of your grid notation or what's on the board. So Huffty starts on this D, it moves down and it finishes on the C. So it's got quite a wide range. Notice I've gone down to the C because it's a low sounding C. So here's the beginning of the Huffty. That's the first grid. Second grid is very similar, except for these last two notes. So the first grid went, the second grid went, so it's not F, G, F, G gets replaced with D, C. So here's the first section of the Huffty complete. That's relatively straightforward. All the notes are pretty much next door to each other within this range of D to C. The middle section has a few more challenges. It starts off straightforwardly, B, C, B, C, B, E. Now here's the difficult bit, here's the challenge, the B, E. And here's the bit where you need to keep your beta close to the instrument. Because if you try and go B, E, you might get there in time, but it's much harder to play if you're coming further away from the instrument as you do it. So here's the B, here's the E. One of the things you might want to practice is how quickly you can get from B to E and not miss. It's quite hard to do when I'm talking as well. Notice also that the B is going down to the E. The E is a lower pitched note. It's to the left as I look at the Glockenspiel. It's not this. It's not B, E up here. That's actually slightly easier, but it's not correct. It's not what the composer intended. So B, C, B, C, B, E, and then A, B, A, B, E. So you've got these jumps to worry about. So B, C, and the next bit is almost the same. The notes are coming pretty much down one note. So what was B to C now becomes A to B, and the lowest note is now a D. So notice again there's a jump downwards. So another thing to practice is how quickly you can go. So down, and that final phrase is very easy. Start on a G, go all the way up, and then we just repeat. Notice when I play it, there's a nice lively rhythm, sounds fun, sounds happy, sounds a bit jazzy, and there's a bounce to the whole thing. It's not this. This is really dull. It's not scale practice quite yet. So easier outer sections. Repeat. Change two notes. Middle section with jumps. Up the scale. Back to the beginning. And finish on C. Then when you finish playing, take your beta right away from the instrument so you can't accidentally play any notes. I like to finish this starting with silence and finishing with silence so we can get a perfect end. Doesn't matter if it's gone wrong in the middle. Professional musicians, we keep going if we make a mistake, but at the end take the beta right away from the instrument so that you can't accidentally play it. If it's right in the air, you can't accidentally play a note and we get a perfect finish.